an old bit, and people I always get this question. It's called Long Live Paint. Long Live Paint. And it's a true story, okay? And I'm going to be, everyone says, is it a true story? I go, yes, 90% of it is true. I'll tell you which part is not true. The whole story is basically, I used to work I used to work in Sears, which doesn't exist anymore, and I worked in the paint department, and we had a great time. Matter of fact, whenever I go in Gutfeld, one of the security guys there, who I should get on the show to tell the story, he was working in the department across from me, and he'd always, I swear to God, he used to always come up to me like, Brewer, come on, man, make me laugh. Do the beat up yourself thing. Do the beat up yourself thing. And I would, you know, I would pretend I'm in a brawl, and I'd do this whole beating myself up thing. I did on Saturday Live years ago, whatever. I used to do this stupid thing where I was having twins and the babies would grab my face. I would do anything for a laugh. So, and I also would call other departments in Sears, and I would prank them. Like there was an old lady that lived in Linens, and I felt bad for her. So I'd call her up and flirt with her, pretending I was an old man. And I'd be like, hey, Carol, you looked great today when I walked by. I love that sunflower dress, and I left some pork lo mein on your register. And she's like, where are you? Why don't you come say hello? I'm like, I'm too embarrassed. I can't tell you who I am. And I kind of felt like I was doing a good thing. There was a guy that I'll never forget this too. I was playing the Paramount in Long Island in Huntington, and someone screamed out, "Long Live Paint." I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "No, I was there. It's Scott." And I looked down, and it was the guy from Toys, Scott. Now Scott also went to my high school. Scott worked in Toys. I used to torment Scott. So I got to take you back in time here. Take me back. It's 80s, and back then he was a heavy kid. Back then he was a heavy kid. So when you were trained to work in a department store, they would tell you, no matter how big your line is, if that phone rings, you must pick up the phone. Because you don't know if that's someone checking on you, a district manager or a manager. You must excuse the customer. Excuse me 1 second. I have to take this call. You take the call and you go, Sears, this is Jim Brewer, paint department. How may I help you? I have to put you on hold. I'm with a customer. You have to address this person. All right? So whenever Scott was busy, and when he was busy, he was heavy, so he's always sweating. And then one day, it was Cabbage Patch. And in the 80s, Cabbage Patch was whatever the new phenomenon was. This was huge. Now, remember I told you I lived near a black neighborhood? Well, a lot of the black women came. They wanted a Cabbage Patch doll. There was only like 2 black Cabbage Patch dolls. It was all white Cabbage Patch dolls, so the black ones went quick. So they were pissed. They were all like Jamaican. Well, what you mean you ain't got no black Cabbage Patch dolls? I've been here since 7 a.m. 7 a.m. What you mean? And you'd have to write them a rain check. And that's when he'd get yelled at, but that's when I would call him. And she'd like, no, I'm with you now. I don't care who's on the phone. And he'd pick up the phone, and I'd go, hey, I'm driving in today from Massive Peak. Going, I have to put you on hold. I go, don't put me on hold, you son of a bitch. You put me on hold last week. And I'd have him write down, do you have Wilson basketball, serial code, blah, blah, blah. I'd drive him nuts, absolutely nuts. And until he caught me one day, he's like, was that you? I'm like, yeah, it was me. I had to. So everyone knew I would prank. Everyone knew, all right? We kept it light. We were all high schoolers. Some of us were just starting college. So it was one day, this guy, now I'm in paint, and right next to me is hardware, okay? And there's 2 hardwares. There's like the serious hardware department where they're selling for commission, and then there's the ones where you're just buying hammers and wrenches and stuff like that. And we didn't take it seriously. So He comes in, he's a brand new guy in hardware. Well, I go up to say hello to him, and I say, hey man, I'm Jim, I work in paint, if you need anything. And he says, hey man, why don't you stay in your department? He goes, you know, you come here, you look high all the time. He goes, you know, we're here to serve people. You understand that, right? He goes, you don't know anything about paint. I've seen you tell people that they should stain their kitchen. I've seen you tell people that you should use gloss, like on the outside of the house. You don't know anything about the paint department. I said, hey, you know, I'm just having fun. He goes, do me a favor and stay in paint. He's a little snippy. So I walk back to paint. Now, I'm a little aggravated. First of all, I'm already judging him hard because, in my opinion, if you're like in your 40s and you work in Sears hardware, like something happened. You know what I mean? Like you're not crushing it, and you're not. Something's going down. So I decide I'm going to call him, prank him. On every newspaper is, again, Muammar Gaddafi is evil. We must kill Muammar Gaddafi. Libya, bad. Libya, bad. Muammar Gaddafi was the boogeyman. We had to go after him. And he shot missiles at an American plane while they were flying over his country, and we bombed his tent. Literally bombed his tent. Just sheets floating. And I don't even know if he had missiles. I think the poor bastard had bottle rockets. And we bombed him. Had nothing to do that he didn't want to be part of the central bank system, had nothing to do that he wanted to take care of all Africa and not rely on the rest of the world or the banking system. It had nothing to do with giving free education to his people, had nothing to do with free health care for all Libyans, had nothing to do with building a pipeline of water for all of Africa, it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with, he's a terrorist! Look at him, he's brown, he wears that stupid thing around his hat. Who wears sheets around their head? Terrorist, that's who. So Muammar Gaddafi is all over the papers. And you gotta understand something, there's no internet, there's no phones, there's no TikTok, there's none of that. There's just, if you had to change the channel, you had to get up out of your seat and change the channel. Every channel, Muammar Gaddafi, evil. Muammar Gaddafi, evil. 6 missiles, 6 missiles, 6 missiles. Muammar Gaddafi, right? So I call up the hardware department, and this is pre-9/11, obviously, and I can see him. He's like 50 feet away. I can see him, and he picks up the phone. He goes, hi, this is John, Sears hardware department. How can I help you today? And I'm on my life, I'm looking at him. And I said, hello.
It's under the table.
It's under the table. Ah. This is literally what the phones look like anyway. I said, hello. This is Muammar Gaddafi. I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles, and I'm watching them, to blow up the Sears hardware department in Valley Street, New York. I even went, and I said, you have 15 minutes to evacuate all of the tools and the hammers and the drill bits of the hardware. And I ended by saying, you remember this, my hardware friend. Long live paint, okay? And I hung up the phone, and I'm cackling. Now, in the paint department was go to the stock room, and the stock room go to the break room. So I left the floor. It's just me working. I left the floor, went to the break room. I'm enjoying my moment of hilarity. And about 15 minutes later, I go back out on the floor. On my life, I'm I'm looking for Scott, and there's no customers. There's nobody in Sears. And I think this is so weird. And it's not, and I'm looking at my watch, I'm like, where is it? And I walked into hardware and he's gone, everyone's gone. So I'm just hanging out. It felt like 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, a plainclothes security guy comes out of the stock room. He's like, Brewer, we got one more. He goes, come on, man, we got to go. I said, what's going on? He goes, the new guy from hardware, he got a bomb threat. We got to evacuate, like we're evacuating. And I went, what? I said, that was me. And he goes, dude, it's not funny. I went, no, it's hilarious. That was me. And he goes, oh, all right, hold on. We got a false alarm. Dude, are you being serious right now? He's like, you're in a lot of trouble if you're being serious. I went, yeah, I'm being serious. He goes, bro, we're like in the middle of evacuation. We evacuated the mall. I'm like, you evacuate the mall? I go, how did he get a bomb threat? He said, you called in a bomb threat. I said I was Muammar Gaddafi. And I sent Libyan missiles to hit Sears hardware in Valley Stream. Listen, that's on whoever hired him, and that's on him. That's on you right now. That ain't on me. You can't be, something wrong with him. I'm sorry. So now I got to go downstairs and got to meet all these cops. Like, there's a lot of cops waiting for me, and there's a private security room where they have cameras and all the cashiers, and I sit in there, and I'm going through every cop. Back then, you could smoke. I didn't smoke, but the cops would be like, so wait a minute, say this one more time. I said I was Muammar Gaddafi. No, do the noise. I'm like, hello, man. And then each cop would go, hey, man, if you ever get pulled over, here's a card, a PBA card, and just show them that you get pulled over, and they should let you go. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I made all the way to the chief. Chief showed up, and the chief, he goes, tell me what happened. And I tell him the story, and he goes, that guy's a suspect. I mean, you can't be. He goes, listen, man, I'm the chief. He gives me his card. I'm like, oh wow, thanks. And then he goes, I'd love to help you, but it's in the feds' hands, and the feds are here. Okay. Because I'm going to send them in. I went, okay. They're going to love this story, don't you think? And the feds came in, and they were a little different. The guy was like, hey, listen, I don't know what everyone thinks is so funny here, but you're in serious trouble. He goes, I had to leave on a helicopter and get here as soon as possible. I had to let the national defense know that we may have a serious terrorist situation here. So you don't get to call your lawyer. You don't have to call mommy and daddy. I'm the government. And if I don't think your story is right on, you're going to have a pretty tough day today. I said, okay. And he goes, keep eye contact. I went, okay. I said, I called the guy from hardware. And I said, I'm Muammar Gaddafi. And I sent 6 Libyan missiles to hit Sears hardware. And I go through the whole story. And I said, and I ended by saying, long live paint. And he goes, yeah, that guy's a suspect. I'm with the feds, man, here. So that's the bit. However, the feds never showed up. It ended with the police. They didn't even evacuate the mall, but they did evacuate Sears, and they were about to evacuate the mall. They already made the call, and they were about to evacuate all the stores of Green Acres Mall. Now, in the story, I replaced the feds with the supervisor of that district. So I was suspended for a couple days, which I was really bummed. I liked working Sears Paint. I liked making my phone calls. We all had a great time. So I had to go meet the district manager in Rockville Center, Long Island, where Sears, that was like the big thing. And that like when I just replaced everything. I walked in. He goes, sit down. He goes, so tell me what happened. He's behind his desk. And I said, well, listen, I was done with my paints. I was done with everything I had to do in paint. And I like keeping a loose mood, so I do prank calls. And maybe I shouldn't have done this one, but I called the new guy in hardware, and I said I was Muammar Gaddafi, and I sent Libyan missiles to hit Sears hardware in Valley Stream. I said he had 15 minutes to evacuate all the tools and all the hammers and all the drill bits, and I ended by saying, remember this, long live paint. And I hung up and I giggled, and I was 50 feet from him. And all my life, the supervisor is behind the desk, and he goes, okay, why don't we concentrate a little more on the paint department and a little less on phone calls? And I went, so am I not fired? He goes, no, you're not fired. I went, oh my God, thank you so much. And well, now I go to Sears, and the guy in hardware is still working there. Everyone in there is my friend, and all you would hear, I'd be in paint. I was on probation, so I'm just being really good. I'm like, hi, welcome to Sears Paint. Let me help you with this paint situation. And all I would hear is everybody that would go on break would walk by hardware and go, watch out, there's a bomb! And they just, yeah, take cover. They were relentless, and the poor bastard eventually quit. And I don't know whatever happened to him. I wish he'd come out and say, I was the guy, it was terrible. I apologize. I apologize to you that you fell for the joke. So that's a true story.